Hello everyone, I am Scutlist, and I'm coming back from 5 full playthroughs of Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. I believe I played enough to get a feel of what the game is doing right, and what it is doing wrong. Without further waiting, let's begin. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is the obligatory Empires expansion that every mainline Dynasty Warriors game has gotten since Dynasty Warriors 4 Empires. Disregarding the typical Three Kingdoms storyline, the Empires games offer a far more customizable experience. Decide what territories to attack, what territories to defend, harvest resources, recruit officers, become a saint who provides for your people, or a ruthless monster pillaging your own territories. Become sworn siblings, marry a character of the opposite gender, all in a mission to bring China under your banner. As is a staple with the Empires games, you can create your own officer from scratch. Decide what they wear, how they look, what they sound like, and etc. Compared to previous Empires games, they have greatly fleshed out the ability to design the face and physique of your character, with a system largely pulled from Neo 2. But conversely, the outfits you can put on your character are extremely limited, offering very limited variety on what your character is wearing. The footage you're seeing is of a few creative warriors I built, but because of the outfit limitations, I can't claim to be satisfied with any of them. Furthermore, the game has removed many of the extra customizability the Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires offered you. Customizable troops? Gone. Customizable horse? Gone. Importing an image for a custom flag? Gone. Scenario editor? Gone. Hope you enjoyed the epic randomness of the Gathering of Heroes scenario. For the meat of the game, Conquest Mode, you can play a number of different scenarios based on key moments in the time period, such as the coalition against Dong Zhuo or the Battle of Cherby. For a less historical story, there's the Gathering of Heroes scenario that tosses characters and kingdoms around completely randomly, but it also lacks the specific event battles of the historical scenarios. Battles are divided into two categories, invasion battles and defensive battles. In an invasion battle, your goal is to break into the enemy's castle, and to do this you need to capture the bases around the castle. Capture catapult bases and they'll launch rocks at other bases. Most notably, they will launch rocks at the lookout bases on a castle's walls. If your army seizes all of the lookout bases via catapults, you can enter the castle by grapple hooking up the wall. Alternatively, you can capture a siege tower base, spawning a siege tower to approach the castle's walls, providing an alternative means to enter the castle. The third possibility is to capture a ram base, to send a ram to the castle gates to break the gate open. The defenders can put a stop to this by retaking lookout towers with their own catapults, or destroying the siege towers and rams. Alternatively, they can simply seize the bases these things are spawning from. If a siege tower base or a ram base is taken by the defenders, the weapons immediately despawn. Conversely, the defenders taking a catapult base simply spawns a catapult allied with the defenders. The game is generally fine with spawning rams and siege towers, but I've noticed it does seem to run into some issues spawning catapults. To actually win a battle, you must trigger a decisive battle by opening the gates to the enemy castle. Even if you scale the wall via grappling hook or a siege tower, a decisive battle won't occur until you go to the gates and open them by breaking the wooden lock. Once this occurs, the enemy commander will spawn, defeat them to end the battle. If you're playing as the defenders, most of what I've said also applies. The defenders want to keep the ram bases, siege tower bases, and catapult bases out of the enemy's hands. Though whereas an invader's decisive battle is triggered by them opening the castle gates, for the defenders you simply need to capture the vast majority of the enemy bases to trigger the decisive battle. Note that when you're playing a defensive battle, you don't need to trigger a decisive battle to make the enemy commander spawn. He'll just be sitting in the enemy camp. But defeating the enemy commander will not end the battle unless a decisive battle has been triggered. The invaders and defenders can also benefit from secret plans. Secret plans are special missions that ask you to capture certain bases, defeat specific enemies, defend specific NPC allies, and etc., and be rewarded by a stratagem taking effect. The effects ranging from your allies getting a major moral boost, or the weather conditions changing, or special allied units spawning. Your enemies have their own secret plans, which you must put a stop to or else they'll get to spawn their own beneficial effects. Base capturing is achieved by entering an enemy base and defeating enemies until the counter at the top of the screen depletes to 0. Note that if an enemy officer is in the base, you can't capture it until the enemy officer is either defeated or you can knock them out of the base. Also, the AI seems to prioritize attacking you if you're trying to achieve a secret plan, which can result in a multitude of enemy officers all rushing you in a base you need to conquer for a secret plan, which can make the plan objective borderline impossible to achieve in time. This is effectively all the types of battles in the game. A lot of the other battle types from previous Empires games, like stealth missions about assassinating officers or guarding traitors, have been completely removed. In a sense, this harkens back to an issue I had with Citadel mode in Samurai Warriors 5, where every battle is largely the same thing. At the very least, there is more variety to how you can approach battles in Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. The battle maps are also a bit underwhelming. As they are lifted from Dynasty Warriors 9's open world, you mostly just have an unremarkable open field surrounding a castle, and much like how DW9 was copy-pasting some of its forts around, a lot of the castles you're attacking are the complete same. Some of DW9's more unique locales, like Chengdu or Shapi, are also battle maps, but you can only access a small portion of these castles during a battle. The game is still using Dynasty Warriors 9's combat system, where what attacks you can employ are dictated by what state your enemy is in. A combo that can only be used if your enemy is on the ground, a combo that can only be used if your opponent is in a stun state. You can't do a jump attack whenever you please, you have to first knock the enemy into the air, and then the game will allow you to air combo them. This overly linear and restrictive style of combat, while functional, has never been as fun and enjoyable as the older combat system of Warriors games. During a playthrough of Conquest mode, you can be one of 4 things: an unaffiliated officer, a vagrant leader, an officer, and a ruler. However, because the various quest battles from 8 Empires have been removed, there is very, very little you can do as an unaffiliated officer or a vagrant. Gather some allies, build a respectable force, maybe pillage supplies a few times, then either serve a nation or raise your own flag. That's about it for what unaffiliated and vagrant leaders can do. Most actions you can take in these menus also affect certain attributes, such as ingenious or evil, effectively taking us back to the system of Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires. You can accumulate points and level up, or lose points and level down in these attributes depending on your actions in the game. The purpose of leveling in these attributes is that having a certain level in attributes can unlock titles which award you special commands. The original Dynasty Warriors 9's open world also returns in the form of strolls, and it's largely pointless. With strolls you can talk to officers to raise your friendship level with them or try to recruit them, have them accompany you around the open world, and etc. But the friendship building and recruiting can also just be done through menus while strolling, eliminating the needs to talk to the characters entirely. And doing it through the menus also lets you skip the loading screens that come with interacting with them as well. Unless you want to mess around with photo mode, the open world feels completely pointless in Empires. In terms of presentation, 9 Empires takes a bit of a hit. There are quite a fair amount of cutscenes in the game, but a lot are really short, as in only a few seconds long and with no dialogue whatsoever. Some are even copy-pasted from previous Empires games. This cutscene that might play if you're an evil tyrant is lifted almost exactly from Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires, with the only difference being that the characters are in a fort rather than in a city. Much like in 8 Empires, you can have a child, though it's handled a bit differently. Whereas in the last Empires game, your child was born partway through the game after you're married, in this game your child is born if you beat the game and your spouse is still alive. Children characters also look a lot better in this game, not being the misshapen abominations they were in 8 Empires. But the game does still take some things a little too seriously when generating these child units. Take this footage right here. These are 2 daughters my self-named Create Warrior has had. I've made absolutely no edits to their design since I got them. They're literally just in their father's outfits and have their father's hair color, but their face and hairstyle does take cues from their respective mothers. Children characters also come with built-in good relationships with their families. After children characters exist, in future playthroughs they'll start with a C rank friendship level with their parents, rather than the default E rank most characters have with each other at the very beginning. Overall, Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires feels like a very one step forward, two steps back kind of experience. Ultimately, I'll give it a score of 5.5 out of 10. I have had fun with the game and am not done playing it, but the simplifying of, and the outright removal of, some of the customization options are real sour points. It also uses the less fun combat system of Dynasty's Warriors 9, and needlessly continues to employ the open world. It's possible this game will eventually receive patches that will address some of my concerns, and render this review outdated. But for the time being, I couldn't recommend this game unless the create a character system and the freedom of choices of how you can approach the game intrigues you. Now, go play Samurai Warriors 4 Empires and have yourself a great time. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.
像疲劳，转作无所